when you're just a pretty face.
Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Don't be scared if you don't fit in. Look who's in the reject bin. It's the Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls.
Made him perfectly. So if you got a bump on your nose or lumps on your toes, do not despair. Be like the Raggy Dolls and say I just don't care. 'Cause Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls.
Raggy Dolls
Raggy
are
Dolls.
happy just to be Raggy Dolls, Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me. One bright spring Saturday morning, Claude was up very early and nosing about in the canteen kitchen. It was his favourite place in the whole factory. Today, he was going to try something he'd never done before. He was going to make some chocolate. All the Raggy Dolls were still fast asleep in the reject bin when a sweet smell came drifting through the factory. Sad Sack was the first to wake up.
I can smell chocolate,
He thought,
I must be dreaming.
and he pinched himself on the arm to make sure.
Ow!
Said Sad Sack, rubbing his arm. By now, all the Raggy Dolls were awake. They made their way to the kitchen, where they found Claude happily stirring an enormous saucepan. It was full to the brim with thick, runny chocolate.
Ah, mes amis, called Claude. Come and taste what I am cooking. C'est magnifique, n'est-ce pas?
Claude dipped in a spoon, and one by one, the Raggy Dolls tasted the chocolate.
It's wonderful, said Princess.
Brilliant, stammered Hi-Fi. Sad Sack closed his eyes and didn't care if he was dreaming or not.
You are clever, said Dotty. But why did you make so much?
Claude sighed.
I did not mean to, but at first the mixture was too thick, and then I make it too thin, and then again too thick, and then, et voila, too much.
The Raggy Dolls laughed.
Never mind,
Said Lucy.
it tastes delicious, even if there is too much.
There's no such thing as too much chocolate,
Thought Sad Sack, as he tasted just a little bit more.
What are we going to do with all this chocolate?
Said Princess.
That is simple,
Said Claude.
Have you all forgotten what day it is tomorrow?
Tomorrow?
Of course,
Said Back to Front.
it's Easter Sunday. Exactement,
Said Claude.
that is why I prepare le chocolat. We shall make les Easter eggs.
Good thinking, said Dotty. 3 cheers for Claude. Hip hip. All the Raggy Dolls cheered except Hi-Fi. He was looking very thoughtful. At last, he spoke.
Excuse me, but how are we going to make egg shapes?
A stunned silence fell. The Raggy Dolls looked at Hi-Fi, then at the enormous saucepan of runny chocolate, and then at Claude. Claude shrugged. Even he had no idea.
No problem, said Back to Front suddenly. We need spoons, lots and lots of spoons.
Back to Front's idea was wonderfully simple. Fill up a spoon with runny chocolate, wait till it cools down and goes hard. Tap the spoon and out comes half a chocolate egg. Stick together 2 halves and you get a whole chocolate egg.
We must save some runny chocolate to stick the halves together,
said Back to Front. At last, every spoon in the canteen was filled with chocolate. There was even enough to fill 2 ladles to make a really big Easter egg. The Raggy Dolls sat down for a well-earned rest.
Phew, I had no idea making Easter eggs was such a business,
said Princess.
I quite agree,
Said Dotty.
but what are we going to do with them all when they're finished? There are far too many for us to eat. We must share them,
Said Lucy.
Who with?
Said Sad Sack.
We'll think of something,
Said Dotty.
Come on, let's see if the chocolate's gone hard.
It was dark by the time 7 very tired Raggy Dolls climbed back into the reject bin. They had made 100 chocolate eggs and had washed up 200 spoons. The next morning, the Raggy Dolls had wished each other Happy Easter. They'd had chocolate eggs for breakfast, 2 each, and now they were carrying the rest in a box across the big field towards the dark wood. They had decided to give away Easter eggs to anyone they met. Mother Duck took 6 for her ducklings. They had great fun pecking the chocolate eggs into little pieces. A mole who'd popped out of his hole had said the Raggy Dolls were most kind when they'd wished him Happy Easter and given him an egg. Soon the Raggy Dolls came across a young rabbit eating a dandelion.
Oh, look,
Said Princess.
a Easter bunny.
Happy Easter, Bunny, said the Raggy Dolls, and Claude offered him an egg. The bunny stopped chewing and said,
Oh, Happy Easter. What's that you've got?
It's a chocolate egg.
said Lucy.
Happy Easter.
The bunny couldn't believe his luck. Dandelion leaves are really sour.
You're giving away chocolate eggs?
Yes, said the Raggy Dolls. We've got more than we need.
Is it all right if I tell my brothers and sisters?
said the bunny, a little slyly.
Of course,
said the Raggy Dolls.
Right then, said the bunny. I'll take my egg and send along the others, OK?
The Raggy Dolls watched as the bunny hopped away with his egg. Moments later, another bunny appeared.
Hello, Happy Easter. My brother says you're giving away Easter eggs.
Mais oui, said Claude, taking another egg out of the box.
They are made of the finest chocolate à la Claude.
Oh, yes, very nice too, said the bunny, and the Raggy Doll smiled as he hopped away with his egg. One by one, more and more bunnies came and wished the Raggy Dolls Happy Easter and hopped away with a chocolate egg.
Well, we are certainly managing to share a lot of Easter eggs.
Yes, said Dotty. Aren't there a lot of Easter bunnies about today?
Yes, said Sad Sack. And isn't it strange how they all look the same?
What Sad Sack and the others didn't know was that it was the same Easter bunny. He now had a pile of 20 or more eggs, and he was planning to eat them all himself. When no more bunnies came, the Raggy Dolls decided to move on. They picked up the box and headed for the dark wood, where they would find badgers and squirrels. Instead, they met a mother rabbit looking very worried.
I'm looking for one of my sons,
she said. She told the Raggy Dolls that all the bunnies had been ordered to stay in the warren because a man had been walking a dog that morning.
Raggy Dolls to the rescue,
stuttered Hi-Fi. In the middle of the big field, they heard a moaning and groaning.
Oh dear,
whispered Lucy.
Are we too late? Has the dog got him?
Her knees began to knock.
No,
said Dotty.
There's no sign of a dog. Come on.
They soon found a very fat Easter bunny, rolling on his back, clutching his tummy, surrounded by a few half-eaten chocolate eggs.
You silly little bunny,
said his mother.
It serves you right.
The selfish little bunny had eaten so much chocolate, he had a really bad tummy ache. The mother rabbit thanked the Raggy Dolls for their help and said she would make sure that the rest of the eggs would be shared equally with all the bunnies in the warren. As the Raggy Dolls walked back to the factory, Sad Sack thought to himself,
To think I thought there was no such thing as too much chocolate. Ho hum. Would anyone like to share this Easter egg?
He called to the others. And Sad Sack held up the very big egg he'd been planning to eat all by himself.
Raggy Dolls are happy just to be Raggy Dolls, dolls like you and me.
It was a dull, wet weekend afternoon. The Raggy Dolls were busy drawing and painting in Mr. Grimes' office, all except Sad Sack.
It's no good,
He thought.
I can't think of anything to draw.
Sad Sack went to the window and sighed. Then he noticed a spider.
He thought. Spiders are easy to draw.
What are you doing? Said the spider.
Oh,
He said.
I've done a drawing of you.
Well, let's have a look then.
Said the spider eagerly. Sadsack showed the spider his drawing.
It's not very good, is it?
Said the spider at last.
You haven't given me a head.
Well, I'm not very good at drawing,
Explained Sadsack.
Besides, I couldn't think of anything else to draw.
The spider lifted one of his 8 legs and pointed.
Why don't you go and look in one of those books?
He said.
Books are full of ideas.
That's a good idea,
Said Sadsack, cheering up a bit.
Of course it's a good idea.
Said the spider.
Now off you go and leave me in peace.
Sadsack thanked the spider, and in no time at all, he was examining the old books. One book was called Railways of the World. It was full of pictures of magnificent shiny steam engines, but they had so many wheels and fiddly bits and pieces, they were much too hard to draw. Another book was all about birds, but they had so many colours, they were too hard to paint. Sadsack was about to give up when he saw a book called The Magic Sword. It was full of knights in shining armour, castles, kings and queens, and dragons. Sadsack forgot about drawing and began to read. Soon it was 4 o'clock.
Time for tea, I think.
Said Dotty. Everyone agreed. Lucy giggled.
Oh, my,
She said.
look at Sadsack. He's fallen asleep in the corner. Well, we'd better wake him up.
Said Hi-Fi.
Yeah,
Added back to front.
he'll be really miserable if he misses his tea.
I don't think we should wake him up,
Said Princess.
He looks so peaceful. We can bring all the tea things up to the office and surprise him.
Good thinking, whispered Dotty, and the Raggy Dolls tiptoed out, past the sleeping Sadsack. But Sadsack wasn't just asleep. He was dreaming. He was walking along a path through a forest, and he could hear the sound of horses' hooves. Sadsack pressed himself against a tree as a knight in shining armour on a big white horse galloped towards him.
Whoa there, whoa!
The big white horse came to a halt and stood quite still.
Good morrow, good sir,
Said the knight.
what brings thee to these enchanted woods? I am Sadsack, the famous artist. I am ordered by the king to paint a portrait of the queen.
Then, good sir, thou art indeed most brave.
Said the knight.
The way to the Queen's castle is full of danger.
What sort of danger?
Asked Sadsack. The knight explained.
The Queen's castle stands beyond a deep gorge, and the only way across is the Bridge of Doom.
Then so be it.
Said Sadsack valiantly.
But wait,
Said the knight.
the Bridge of Doom is guarded by the dragon with the eyes of fire, and the dragon with the eyes of fire can only be destroyed by the magic sword.
Then where might I find this magic sword, O good Sir Knight?
The knight was amazed.
You seek the magic sword?
He gasped.
Yes,
Said Sadsack, puffing out his chest as far as it would go.
I must obey the king.
Turn back, brave fellow, warned the knight. All who seek the magic sword must perish in the swamp of sadness.
So saying, the knight galloped away into the forest. Sadsack watched him go and allowed his chest to return to normal. Psst, said a voice. Psst. It was a spider without a head.
Don't listen to him,
Said the spider.
he knows nothing. I'll tell you how to get the magic sword.
How?
Said Sadsack.
Well, first, you must find my head.
Sadsack looked at the spider closely. Then he gently turned him round, and sure enough, there was the spider's head.
That was easy.
Of course it was easy,
Snapped the spider.
Not everything has to be hard.
Tell me where the magic sword is.
Demanded Sadsack.
Very well.
Said the spider. In no time at all, Sadsack found himself in a giant cobweb being carried by colourful birds across the swamp of sadness. He could see helmets, swords and shields, and pieces of armour stuck in the mud below. And there, in the hollow tree, was the magic sword. The birds swooped low and hovered while Sadsack reached out and grabbed the jewelled handle. Then the birds carried him back across the swamp to the spider. "Good luck," said the spider, as Sadsack set off down the path towards the Bridge of Doom.
Who goes there?
demanded a nasty, gruff voice. It was the dragon with the eyes of fire.
It is I, Sadsack the Bold, and I have the magic sword.
The dragon roared and spluttered with rage. Fire leapt out of its nostrils and out of its eyes. Sadsack held up the magic sword by the blade, and the jewels in the handle were so bright, the dragon was dazzled.
Ah, my eyes! I can't see a thing!
The dragon turned and slipped right off the Bridge of Doom and plunged thousands of feet into the gorge below. Sadsack was brought before the Queen. Trumpets sounded as he bowed and went down on one knee. The Queen spoke.
Thou hast rid this land of a most fierce dragon. What is thy name, good Sir Knight?
I am called Sadsack, your majesty, but I'm not a knight. I am just a humble artist sent here by the king to paint your portrait.
Then I shall have my portrait painted by a knight,
said the Queen, and she placed the magic sword on Sadsack's shoulder.
Arise, Sir Sadsack,
said the Queen.
Tea's ready,
said Princess.
Come along, wake up.
Wah, wah.
Mumbled the sleepy Sadsack. Then he noticed the others with sandwiches, cakes and cups of tea.
Oh, I say, I must have been dreaming.
And snoring,
said Dotty.
You sounded like a dragon.
Sadsack smiled and took a big mouthful of cake.
It's not much of a life when you're just a pretty face. Just to be whoever you are is no disgrace. Look around and you will find people of every kind, like the Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
dolls like you and me. Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
Raggy Dolls,
made imperfectly. So if you're not at ease with your knobbly knees and your fingers are all thumbs, stand on your two left feet